Welcome to the Bestie Perspective, a raw, unfiltered space where we explore the mind, body, spirit connection. Every week, we dive into personal growth, holistic healing, and life's ups and downs to inspire, support, and remind you you're never alone on this journey. Welcome back, besties. Today, we're continuing the conversation we started last week about the pressure to have it all figured out, thanks to society's invisible timeline and the myth of a perfect path. But instead of picking up exactly where we left off, we're taking it a layer deeper. We're talking about what it actually looks like to unravel all of those expectations, unspoken or spoken, to walk through the unknowns of life with curiosity, to embrace the mess, the in-between, and what I like to call playing in the gray. And don't worry, I'll explain more about that later. But this episode is going to be for our bestie who's waking up to the truth that her timeline is hers alone, that she is magical and the loving co-creator of her own story, that she gets to choose her path, even if it's messy, non-linear, or different from everyone else's. And most importantly, that it's possible to enjoy the process, even when it doesn't feel or look perfect.
So let's just take another look back at last week and what we talked about together and how nobody really has it figured out. And we're looking at this timeline and these expectations and this way that things are supposed to look and the way that everything's portrayed on people's highlight reels on social media and how that's so overwhelming sometimes because social media has such a bigger place in our life now.
But when you're when you're flooded with all that information, are you really listening to what you even want? Or are you just looking at everyone else's standards?
Exactly.
It really is so easy to compare now. And I think that is when we also think back about Aylen's episode of It's Not You, It's Wi-Fi, how much time we might spend on technology or needing to take a break from technology, how much of our attention and energy we're giving to social media even. So I was thinking about one time when I was still nursing and I was sitting in my car and I had a really rough shift and I was just kind of in like this zoned out phase after work where I did not want to do anything. I didn't want to drive home, but I was exhausted. I needed to go to bed. And I was just scrolling on social media like lifeless. I was a zombie. And I saw this person had posted their wedding and then their honeymoon. And I was like, wow, you really look so happy. And I was in the full on comparison trap. It was just like, it had nothing to do with this person, but I just like cried in my car. I was like, I don't have it figured out.
And I think that's the hard part too with social media is because it's easy for us to access when we're not at our best either. Like you said, you just got off a long, hard shift. You were exhausted, but too tired to drive home in that moment. And you're sitting there and it's so easy to pick up your phone and open Instagram and start scrolling where, people aren't necessarily doing that in real time, right? So it can also, I think, warp time in a sense in that way where it feels like, oh my God, I'm having this shit day and look at Mary over there just living her best life.
But not only that, we also discussed in that episode how we're seeing the edited version in the highlight reel. That trip that they had, we didn't see the argument on the plane, the hauling that big luggage up the stairs and whatever else. We're just seeing that beautiful background and them clinking their champagne.
You know what grounds me is I follow this one page that shows like travel disasters, and the background is always like, "Welcome to your Jet 2 holiday." It's like that one. I don't know if you guys have heard it, but then it's these crazy things that are happening. They're like Instagram versus reality, right? And I think that's the exact moment of we don't normally see, like you're saying, that reality, that behind the scenes, the you sweating through your clothes before that champagne clink or whatever.
But one thing that I think if we can learn to, I want to use this word and I hope it makes sense, but alchemize what we're feeling in that moment. And because we can say, that's what I want, or that's what I would rather feel than crying in my car right now. This is such bullshit. I don't want to be here, right? And then just saying, okay, that's where I want to be, and just go there internally, like closing our eyes, just pausing whatever we're doing, and like, okay, what if I was here and doing this and feeling that, and just like our whole body, our whole nervous system will tap into that, and it feels so good. And it's amazing to think we had the power to do that. So, yeah, I will say the word I was looking for was alchemize.
Yeah.
What we're feeling separate from when we're looking at that social media post.
I love that. Even just, I don't know that I've heard the word used as alchemize, but if it's not a word, I want it to be because I really like the way it sounds.
That is exactly what the messy middle is about, though, isn't it? You see something, maybe at first you might catch yourself comparing, like I did in the car, and feeling like my life was just out of order. I was like, okay, I don't like this right now. Clearly, I don't like what's going on. Me crying doesn't exactly have anything to do with her, but it triggered something inside of me that made me curious. Okay, why am I feeling this way? This girl, I don't even know her. Like literally followed her on social media.
Right.
Never met her in person, right? And then taking that and becoming inspired by it and kind of setting like a goal. Okay, this sparked something inside of me. And no, I didn't set a goal to go have a wedding and a honeymoon like that. But it did make me think, okay, I don't like my life right now. What is it? What do I deeply crave? And what do I really want? And then that's kind of one of the moments I found myself, okay, this is my messy middle.
It's such a good example too, because, oh man, especially those after the shift moment and you don't want to get on the road just yet and just want to let it out. I know we are not alone in having that mini breakdown before you're like, okay, bootstraps back on. Let's go.
Yeah, definitely.
And then that also makes me think of when you don't know what you want or you just know you're not happy. That's another way that social media can keep on being a trap, because you can keep on looking outside of yourself for what you think you want or what you see other people posting in their highlight reels of what they want or whatever. But it's so easy in today's world, not only with social media, but the internet, AI. You can have a whole conversation with ChatGPT about your purpose in life.
That ChatGPT is one smart cookie.
Yeah. I love the prompt that you can give it. Describe me like my drunk bestie.
I haven't done that yet.
That
Did
sounds
you do
so
it?
fun.
If you haven't done it, and to our listeners too, if you use ChatGPT a lot, it will tell you how your drunk bestie would describe you.
Oh my gosh.
We need to do it and see how realistic it is.
Yes, let's check the accuracy of it one day.
So just reeling that thought back in, we have access to more information and connectivity now than ever. And so that can be overwhelming, especially if the goal is to not look outside of yourself for answers. You're constantly being stimulated with things outside of you, whether that's social media or AI. But it's so tempting when you're in unknown territory to try to cling to something, even if it's not yours.
Well, and that makes me think of even just the manifestation trap. Always trying to learn that whole manifestation community of like, what am I doing wrong? Or what about this technique? Let me try this technique. Let me try this one. Where it's like, let me listen to this teacher. Let me switch to this teacher. Let me do this guy. And if we just actually stop and do the practice, if we actually like stop and plan the vacation we could afford, if we actually take ourselves off the apps and put the phone down and be in our world, it's almost, it really is, the trap is the perfect word. It sucks you in and keeps you there in this cycle and these mental loops that are so unhealthy, but yet no change occurs. Put down the phone.
Yeah. I think that is also where connecting with yourself can come into play too, because if you start looking at all the different courses, the different teachers and whatever, part of you might also be saying, it's me, like I'm not doing it right, or I haven't learned enough, or I haven't gotten the hang of it. I need to learn from someone else. So,
and then that's the identity that you're claiming. I'm not doing this right. And so your world says, okay, I'm not doing enough. Your world says, okay, and I need to do more. And therefore you just like slapped that hello, my name is label on yourself. And that's what you get more evidence of. The trap be sneaky, y'all. The trap be sneaky.
Super sneaky. The messy middle is where the magic happens. So if we think back, you guys try to think of a story too, but I know for me, something I thought of being the messy middle, but that maybe, and it definitely wasn't Instagram worthy at the time, but other people might think so. Moving to DR, moving to Dominican Republic. On the outside, it sounds so like glamorous. She's moving to an island. Okay, maybe it doesn't sound glamorous to some people, view it as a third world country, but we live well here. And the reason that we moved was a few things. Jason's family lives here, but also one of the biggest things that I would classify as a messy middle is working with our finances and working with where we were at financially. We decided to move things around so that we could create income through our property in Georgia so that we could find jobs that would help us pay off debts that we had from renovating our house. And I am like openly, vulnerably sharing this, hoping that it lands with the right people out there to let you see, like, I fully enjoy my life here in the messy middle while I'm still dealing with the repercussions of debt, for example. But I'm not letting that hold me back from living my life to the fullest here, starting my coaching business, I started a tallow cream business, and Jason got a remote job. Things just, we didn't have a full plan when we came here, but we had faith that it was going to work out because we both took action behind it to make it work. And as much as it still is quote unquote messy, it's our life now. And the more that we've rooted down, we really, really love it here and are enjoying it here and have began planning how we'll start a family here. So there's still lots of things in the future, and we're in the middle of it right now as it unfolds. So that's one thing. I don't know how you guys see it. I'm interested to know.
Well, I think the move itself would be, a pivotal point. Yes, like that should be a completion mark, I guess, if you want to say it that way. So to me, it's so funny that you see it as the messy middle in some ways, because I don't see it that way. So it's so interesting, your own perspective. I find you courageous. I find you embodying your dreams and living your life, and it doesn't seem messy from the outside looking in. What about you, Lauren? Do you think it does?
I was going to say, you're just the perfect example of, how to make your magic in the middle. Because
There you
I feel
go.
like, yeah, and that's like when you said that, Aylen, I was like, when you're saying that, it just makes me think Hannah's just really living in that magic. She's creating these moments and these experiences for herself, even if her life isn't exactly where she wants it to be yet. And so even Aylen and I can look and just, we always say we're living vicariously through her with her weather and all these other things and living in paradise, right? And so I think it just goes to show that even if you're not feeling like you've got it all figured out or sorted out or in a place where you feel very certain, even, you can still have so much enjoyment in that space and even be an inspiration to others.
Yeah. Yeah. And to be real with you guys, there are so many parts that feel uprooted still. Not having our own place, sharing it with family is a major thing that feels like a very much messy middle to me because me and Jason we both just turned 29. We feel this pressure of we should have our own place. We should be doing the thing. His family keeps asking us about babies. So there is that pressure on the outside that makes me feel like, oh, okay, this part feels unfinished. And then there's so many things you have to do when you move to a new country. We sold our cars in the old country.
We're back here in old country.
I cannot believe I just said that.
It is the old country now. You're living in your new country, girl.
Yes. We sold our cars back in the States, and then we moved money around with that. We paid off high interest debt because that was the goal at the time. And we just got another car. We had been borrowing family's car, which again feels like we went backwards. And now we feel like we're going forwards again. But there's so many of those moments in life that people don't see on Instagram where you're going back, you're going forth, you're going back, you're going forward.
What mountain is ever smooth, right? We picture it as this like triangular mountain. But when we look at real mountains in nature, there's jagged parts. There's parts where you have to go down in order to go up, right? And so I think really looking at a genuine mountain instead of just picturing you go up and you make it and that kind of thing. I think it is more genuine and real that sometimes you have to make decisions that feel like they're putting you back, knowing that it's going to propel you forward in some other way as well.
Mm-hmm. And if you're speaking on it not being smooth, for me, if I'm going to share my own example of messy middle here, it would be the timeline piece more so. And yes, it would have been nice if it were smoother, but the actual healing after delivering my baby. I had women that were doing stuff after 4 weeks, and I'm just like, how are y'all, walking straight when my pelvis over here is feeling all the things? So, yeah, it's just like the healing journey of everyone is so different. And it makes sense because I was going through a lot of emotional stuff that maybe my healing was taking longer physically as everything's, connected and entangled together. But it wasn't until my sister-in-law had a conversation, and what she said was, I think that you are so amazing, and it makes me really sad that you don't see that, because I don't know exactly in the conversation what I was saying, but I was upset or I was hard on myself or something. But she had reminded me, she was like, you had a full, all-natural delivery. You didn't have an epidural. You didn't have anything. She's like, you are so strong. And I just wasn't giving myself credit for that amazing experience. And how it was so difficult for her with her first. And I was just like, oh, wow. For me, I'm thinking this recovery needs to be faster. The timeline is not what it should be. This messy middle piece here, like I should be fine in, 6 weeks, whatever it is, when it didn't. And of course, a woman's full recovery is a year. I truly agree with that. And that's what my experience was. I didn't really all the way physically feel myself until a little bit after that 1 year mark. And so that was really beautiful to hear and to acknowledge that huge win. I was just already trying to find the next mountain, if you will. I'll add some mountains to my part too, Lauryn. But yeah, I was like not acknowledging this one mountain that I climbed and already like, well, I'm not over this other mountain, so I'm just not where I need to be.
Yeah, you had like a double mountain, really, if you think about it, because you had your fostering situation with your nephew, and then that was one mountain, and then you became pregnant, and then really, was it just 2 mountains? Because then
how many mountains? Dang,
you're a professional mountain climber, Aylen. Let's be real.
I really am trying to embody my Capricorn goat side and climbing these mountains.
I'm gonna go take a sound clip of the goats downstairs and put that in there.
Yes, please do that.
First, it's gonna be your mitt, and then I'm gonna put the real mitt.
Wait, let me give a better one. There we go.
I think she came pretty close, y'all. What do you think?
But you know what? Goats are designed to scale mountains easily. I mean, you see some of those pictures of goats on practically vertical shit.
Mm-hmm.
So,
right. Like, what are they gripping onto? Yes.
Right. So, like I said, you're a professional mountain climber up in here.
Thanks, guys.
I think for me, listening to both of your stories, I was kind of being pulled in a couple directions because I definitely feel like I'm still in a messy middle phase, but I don't view it in a negative way. I think I'm very positive and very sure in what I'm manifesting for our future. So although I feel like I'm still in this messy middle phase, which I was kind of leaning toward 2 directions. One was we got married in 2023. Yeah, we're still paying off debt from the wedding, right? And I think in general, when we're in debt, it can make us feel behind in some type of way or lesser than or restricted when it comes to planning things and planning trips and all of that. And so I was kind of juggling. Yeah, I was kind of juggling between that and also my health journey because I started having chronic pain at 19. I'm also 29 like Hannah. And something I've struggled with a lot through my 20s is not feeling like I'm in my 20s. And I have really, really struggled with that thought sometimes, cried over it because I'm like, I'm so young. I'm supposed to feel young. But at the same time, so many people don't even take what I'm going through seriously and brush me off because I'm young. When here I am, not even feeling young in the first place because I'm dealing with not only chronic pain, but other health issues that have popped up for me over the last 5 or so years. And that feels like part of my messy journey. But I think, and what I still tell people now is I don't regret any of it because it really caused me to look inward and learn so much about myself and so much about my body and what I really need and how to tune in and how to not just ignore myself. And it also taught me how much resilience I have. I mean, if any of our listeners have chronic pain, you know what it's like trying to trek through your day as normal and being in a level 7 out of 10 pain. And people assuming because you have a smile on your face that everything's okay. when it's not. You just got really good at shoving down the pain because you got to get stuff done. So I think my health journey, like the debt is a huge piece for sure, but something we've actively been making decisions on. And I definitely get stuck in that comparison trap when I see people going on all these trips, and we're being more careful so that we can prioritize the debt payoff stuff and then live our life. But we also, at the same time, I think have done a great job. And I know I'm bouncing a lot between the two, but I think we've done a really good job of learning to appreciate where we're at and what we have. And my husband and I always have these moments where we reflect with each other and just talk about how grateful we are. The house we have, the place we live, the time we get to spend together, and enjoying those simple moments of making where we're at magical and special for each other.
The awesome garage you guys have built together.
Thank y'all. We do have a pretty epic man cave. But also a thought that I would reflect on with him is, we are so amazing at appreciating what's right in front of us that when we do get to go on these trips and go to these amazing places that are on our bucket list, I feel like we're going to appreciate it so much more and so much more deeply than we would have if we just were able to go right off the cuff, because we've had to learn to invite more magic into more simple moments. So if we go and put ourselves in a place that's super magical, then it's just going to be magical explosion. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you've been working that muscle.
Yeah. And so, and it's the little things, that you get more appreciation out of that. I feel like is just going to make those super bucket list worthy places even more incredible. And then to jump back to the health piece, I think where I'm at is I'm 29. Okay, maybe my 20s haven't felt like what I imagined them to feel or what I've looked around and seen other 20-year-olds feeling like and doing and all that kind of stuff. But now that I've learned what I've learned and I've gotten on such a better track for my health now, I'm actually so excited for my 30s because I kind of feel like they're going to be the 20s I never felt like I had because I know more, because I know more and I know how to treat myself and I know how to take care of myself. So that's kind of where my magic is coming from in my couple messy middle situations.
But I love that you had more than one, because I know there's so many of us out here that maybe listening to the one story we tell and think that the rest of our aspects of our life are good, but no, we've got multiple messy middles. It's all, it's all human, right? It's all human.
Yeah.
But it sounds like your magic is, while in this middle, I'm getting excited about the future.
Yeah. And tapping into what I want for myself, what I want for my family, what I want for my relationships in general, and what I want to call in. And that to me is exciting. And
it is.
In the meantime, just enjoying the magic that's already here, because there's magic literally all around us. All we have to do is be open to it.
Now I have that song in my head. I've got
the magic in me. Every time I touch that track, it turns into gold. Yes.
I love it. There's some similarities between the stories, I feel like, of some sort of expansion, contraction, or like forward, back, up, down. But that
those contractions. No, I'm just kidding.
In more ways than one.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I didn't even say that on purpose, but I'm just that good. So yes, and I think it's fair to say in life, nothing ever stops moving. Even if you feel like you're stuck, there's something expanding or contracting or going up and down. And in those moments, when you are taking a step back, or if things are slowing down, or if you're on a down, it's not failure. It's not stagnation. It's the realest part of the journey that people don't talk about enough. We talk about the before and the after only. And a lot of times with before and after, you're only talking about it after it's already done. It's vulnerable and scary to tell people you're struggling or that your life is not perfect or that you're working on something, because then what if you fail? Or what if you don't get it right the first time? Or what if you have to...
Or decide that you don't like it.
Or that you don't like it, or that you change your mind. It's all part of being human. And sometimes those moments are when you get the most clarity of how to move forward. What's the best plan of action from here? Because whatever you were doing, is it not working anymore?
And you know, when you're saying this, it makes me think of another metaphor. I got something out of the mountains, girls. When you were saying about the expanding and the contracting, and how if we do have to dip down or step back or whatever it is, that it's not a failure, it made me think about the ocean and waves, and how waves actually have to recede to build their strength in order to crash down and go out where they want to go. And so that's my second metaphor of this podcast is, ride the life of waves. Sometimes you're going to need to recede and gather your strength and look inward and do that work so that you can spread out on the beach the way that you want to be.
Yes, I love that. That's beautiful. These are the moments that I call playing in the gray. I said that I would clarify that from the beginning of the podcast, but these are the moments in life where I feel like we just have to learn how to normalize not knowing everything. Sometimes there's not a right or a wrong answer for everything. And if you try to go asking people or the internet or ChatGPT or social media what's right or wrong, you can ask a million people and you'll know that you need to ask yourself after, the 10th or 20th person or thing that you've asked, and you still don't feel like it's the right answer. You're looking for an answer that you're not going to find outside of you.
Mm-hmm. I love that playing in the gray is actually, and normalizing that, because I think in that space, a lot of people just go ahead and either hunt for the answer or they just claim stagnation. It's like, it's got to be something wrong. It can't just be okay that I'm playing in the gray.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And learning this was a game changer for me because I used to struggle with anxiety a lot. It's not something that's completely gone away from me, but it has really, really minimized. And in general, thinking too far or being too far from the present moment, trying to be outside of where I'm at, whether that's in the past or the future, it was really triggering my anxiety. I noticed I was feeling that way when I was thinking things that were not even about right now. It was about things that weren't real yet, or things that happened in the past that I had no control over. Trying to think far ahead about how can I control this or control that, that was giving me anxiety because I wanted to know stuff. Yeah. But really embodying that play in the gray, if you're someone that is, if your anxiety is triggered by that, then I invite you to play in the gray, even in the smallest moments. Where in your life can you point out where there's not a right or a wrong answer, and start looking for that in everything. Identify it, because where you can release your control, where there doesn't have to be a right or wrong answer, can be really helpful.
Definitely. And something else I thought of when you were talking about how, especially with anxiety, and you could find yourself stressing about something that's in the future, there was an exercise I learned in one of the last programs I did that talked about how much, again, either we're stressing about the past or the future when we feel stressed a lot of the time. And so they encouraged us for one of the weeks of the program that when we would feel that emotion or feel stress or anxiety or something come up, to actually pause and think, wait, is this something that's in the future that I'm worrying about right now? Something in the past? Or is it something present? And pretty much 100% of the time, what you're stressing about is past or future. And then from there, once you've analyzed that or like figured out that it's a past or future thing, then there are exercises you could do to bring yourself back into the present moment as well, which can just be another, anxiety reducing tool whether it's five senses, you can start, oh, what do I smell right now? What do I see right now? What am I hearing? What am I tasting, right? And there are a lot of like even short, small things you can do to bring yourself back to present, but they encouraged us to do this for a whole week and set timers on our phone to check in at random times through the day to see if we were in past or future, but also if you're feeling that emotion coming on to see. And then you can take what Hannah's saying with playing in the gray and going, okay, I'm back to present. And where can I find more play in this moment even, right?
Beautiful. So for our people who think way too much or do a lot, it can be really hard to slow down though, if you're not used to it. And if you are like that, go back to our burnout episode and listen to my parody at the end. Go laugh first. But we do speak to, resting and what intentional rest can look like. But I think giving yourself the space and time to breathe and feel okay and not guilty for resting, that is a good place to start. And I love the tools that you just mentioned, because even just the five senses is a great one, but I like setting the timer on your phone to check in, because sometimes we can be in another world far away. That's what one of our family friends calls it when he sees me like staring off in thought and he catches my attention again. He's like, Hannah, you are far. I mean, he says it in Spanish, but, and I'm looking at him, he knows. He can see it in my face when I'm far. But he's like the equivalent of having the timer on my phone. He's like, hey, where are you at? Just checking in right now. Are you still here?
Do they have muffins? No, I'm just kidding.
And even growing up, I would have that too. My mother would be like, are you flying over Europe? Where are you? And now even my husband, he's like, so how was Italy? You're back?
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, that's a good tool.
And another trigger that sparks anxiety in me is overthinking about what people are thinking about me. Again, with the looking outside of myself, this perfectionism I've been undoing for years now of trying to look perfect. I'm trying to think of if there's anything in particular that really helped me with this, because that can definitely be an outside pressure when you're trying to navigate your messy middle.
I think for me, what helped that decrease, because I for sure remember it being more of a thing when I was younger, was my self-talk. Whenever I heard my thought about like, oh, well, what if they think this and what if they think that, I would catch it and then start having this dialogue with myself. And it's like, okay, Aylen, well, what would you like them to think? All right, how would you want to be portrayed? Maybe why don't we just say, okay, you want to be portrayed as talented? You want to be portrayed as kind? You are talented. You are kind, Aylen. And I would figure out what's my concern about them and what they think of me. How would I want them to think of me? And let me just start telling myself I am that. Let's just start claiming it.
I love that. Yeah. And I love that you brought that piece in, because sometimes what we need to hear most, someone's may not tell that to us because they're not in our head. They're not living our life for us. So they don't know what we need to hear to get to where we want to be internally. So like having that relationship with yourself and talking to yourself that way is so important. Yeah.
Be your own best cheerleader.
Always trust in your own bestie perspective, Aylen.
Yes.
Right? See, we practicing what we preach over here.
And another thing that I do in larger social situations, like maybe with people I don't know, if you guys have ever been like walking in public and people will glance at you and you start getting in your head maybe about, oh gosh, what are they thinking? Something simple that I've told myself is because I do it too, right? I glance around at people and I was like, realistically, we look at so many people in a day when we're out, like nobody is going to even remember So when I start to get into my head about what are people potentially thinking something about me, I'm just like, nah, they're probably not even going to remember me at the end of today, because as humans, we look around, we take in what's around us, and most of the time, we're not going to be thinking about it. And so that's just
I would
another
tweak
little
it.
piece.
I would almost tweak it a little bit and just be like, yeah, I know you're looking at this. I'm hot. It's all good.
I like both. I like both. I like to like take the pressure off. Like, oh, like don't worry about it. Like it's, we're one in a million kind of thing. Like, people are just walking by.
And then everyone gets to move on with their day. I mean, unless you're single, you're trying to throw some bait out there, I guess. But none of us are single, so. But I do walk past my husband and I'm like, oh, I know he thinks I'm hot. I throw my bait out to him still.
Yeah. Definitely.
Oh, man. But I see the point you were trying to make, though, Lauryn, which is true. I feel people, especially strangers, are thinking about us way less than we think they are.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This whole time, I thought of two examples, and there's a commonality between two of them. One is worrying about what people think of me and how I look without makeup or just kind of undone, like in raggedy clothes. Another one is what people think of me when I am publicly speaking or presenting something. And the commonality between those two things is, I think, just the courage to go out without makeup and building that confidence through action, through realizing then, oh, I'm not going to die. Like I just proved to myself one day at a time, I'm not going to die going outside of the house without makeup. Like people aren't really thinking about me that much or remembering me that much.
Mm-hmm.
And same with the public speaking. Are they really going to die if I mess up one word? But having the courage to step out and take action to do it and work through the discomfort of the things that I was most worried about, I feel like helped me get over caring what people thought about so much. Because just little by little, I was proving to myself, it's okay. You're going to be fine. And look at you go, girl. And also trying to be perfect is impossible because we're human and it's a moving target. So coming inward to ourselves, whether that's that self-talk or just tuning into what's going on inside of you and what you can do when you begin to turn inward. It's a practice. It takes practice. But what you can do with good intention is just magic. You can transform your whole outer world when you work on your inner world. And I wanted to bring this piece in here because our world profits off of our distraction and insecurity. When you take a look at everything marketing, how much stuff is sold on social media now, all of the paid advertisements with influencers and things. To me, it was really challenging to start tuning inward because I was still looking out so much. I didn't understand how to sit with the unknown. I just wanted to scroll and find everything outside of me. It can feel really uncomfortable to ask yourself what feels true for you right now. Sometimes you don't know the answer right away, and it feels uncomfortable to not know the answer right away because we have the internet, we have AI, we have things that know answers right away. But tuning into yourself, sometimes when you're totally new to it, it takes a little bit of time to connect with that part of you.
And what makes me excited about hearing about this is in a couple weeks, we have an episode coming out about cacao. And cacao and using it ceremonially can actually be a wonderful tool for helping you to get into that space of reflection, to get in that space of tuning into yourself and your body. And so stay tuned if you might be one of those people who are needing or even looking for a new tool to start incorporating.
And when I think about coming back to yourself, I go to meditation. Like that discovery for me was what got me tapped in. And just sitting and being with an emotion, for example, or being quiet and letting my thoughts roll and hearing all the stuff I was saying and being like, whoa. It was a lot of uncovering and this awareness of myself, but also what I was and was not creating, what I was doing, to cause some of what I didn't like seeing. So it led me to this accountability. And then even further, I will say I started to unravel and deprogram and almost undo things to where tapping in and underneath it all, there was perfection. But it had nothing to do with doing anything on the outside, being like that perfect looking girl on Instagram. It was just being quiet, coming back to myself and my internal world, and finding bliss there was like, whoa, that was a really amazing experience. And it doesn't have to be meditation. As Lauryn had the example of cacao, I try my best to remind people that you are the tool and you get to choose what technique helps you remember. It's not about finding the magic pill so that you can tap into it. You are the pill that you're looking for. So it's just remembering. So using whatever technique that gives that spiritual insight and leaving the distractions of social media to do so has been a very, very healthy journey.
Something else that you do, Aylen, tapping into the heart space. I think even for people who struggle to let themselves feel their emotions and feel everything so they can be with that during meditation. I love that you do that.
And a fun little exercise I did at a retreat weekend that had to do with trying to tap into your heart space was when reflecting on questions, or if they posed us a question, we had to answer absolutely immediately. And you're going to respond right away, because if you wait, you give the mind time to start controlling what the heart's trying to say. Where if you hear a question or ask a question and then you just off the cuff, you just start talking, even if it's not making complete sense at first. What comes out will be more true to what your heart's really trying to say instead of what your mind is trying to confuse it with.
I found that with so many clients too. I would say, all right, now tap into this space, not just the heart, but maybe another area of the body, a particular chakra or whatever it may be, or helping them kind of try to remember a specific childhood memory. And then I'll say, so what does this part of you need, or what is this saying? And 3 seconds, and I say, you already got the answer. It was the first thing that came to you. What was it? And they already did, but they weren't speaking up about it because their mind was processing. I would always chime in, nope, you already have it. Let's bring it up. What was it? And they're like, oh yeah, okay, I did have something. They don't even realize.
They're looking for the right answer.
There you go. That's exactly it.
It's almost like learning to turn up the volume of our heart, right? Because it's like the heart spoke first, but maybe it was like, this is what I know. And then the brain's like, no, this, do this, right? And so it's like we almost have to turn up the volume of our heart so our heart's like, and very clear.
And I think that's what people, when we talk about the magic pill or coming back to yourself, they think it's this profound, this epic, like the end of a movie thing, when it can be a whisper. Yeah, so I love that analogy. That's great.
I'm on the metaphors and analogies today, this episode.
I love it. To wrap things up, life is full of these messy middles. Our minds can really make things feel way messier than they actually are, sometimes drowning out what our heart is trying to quietly guide us towards. The truth is, growth is never ever linear, and it's unfolding all the time, whether we like it or not, even when it looks or feels chaotic. Life isn't just a highlight reel of before and after pictures. It's the ups, the downs, the back and forth, the expansion and contraction. That is the work of becoming. Since change is constant, why even waste energy trying to have it all figured out? Instead, lean in, and trust the process and let yourself be shaped by it. Be the confident, curious, and resilient co-creator of your one beautiful life. If you loved this episode, please leave a review letting us know and send it to one of your best friends. And also, in case you didn't know, Lauryn, Aylen, and myself are all coaches, and I believe we all currently have openings for new clients at the moment. So if you're interested in taking your life to the next level, you can connect with any of us using the link in the description. As always, keep growing, keep glowing, and always trust in your own bestie perspective.
I have another song. Listen to your heart when it's calling for you.